The next example will be one whereby changes occur both within the branch and within the trunk, and the merge can then cause some conflicts which the user needs to resolve. So what we'll do is update the project first of all, and make sure that it's fully committed back. And we'll now go and start modifying some comments within our system. So this is a fairly innocuous change, and I've added a comment within the trunk. I'll commit that back. Now I'll switch to the branch. And you'll see that the branch, of course, doesn't contain the change I just made in the trunk. However, what I will do is add a comment in exactly the same place. Save that back and commit it back to the repository. So we now have the situation that the branch and the trunk have both modified the same source line, and when we do a merge back from the branch to the trunk, there will be a conflict. Before we do that, we'll take a quick look at the history view and see how the history view can show you how things change across branch boundaries. So if I right click on the file I'm interested in, I then say show history, and remember we are in the branch here, so we can see that the file was modified a number of times, and then at revision 11 we created the branch to modify the structures, and we've made some modifications within the branch. So effectively what we're doing is looking back in time across the branch boundary, in other words across the boundary at which point the branch was created, then back through the trunk to the original modifications of the file. If I only want to look within the scope of the part of the project I'm in, within the branch in this case, I can filter out everything else, and that's quite easily done by clicking here. And the stop on copy effectively says at the point that you copied, in other words at the point that you moved or copied from the trunk to the branch, I don't want to see anything before that point in time, and so that is this effective filter here. Now looking at the same file here, you see it's got 16, 12 and 11 as the three revision numbers within the branch. If I then switch to the trunk, and once again look at the history, you'll now see a different set of numbers, because effectively these are the changes that were made in the trunk rather than the changes that were made in the branch. And of course in this instance, because it's the trunk, you can't effectively remove anything out because there's no copy. This is the trunk. And you'll see here this was the merge from the branch, and then this is the latest change here. One little point is that the history view automatically closes itself when you switch or when you look at different files. If you want this view to remain open for you, then you can click on this button here which pins the history view. In other words, it keeps the window open, and that can avoid the annoyance of having to go through the menu system every time you want to look at the difference between various files. Okay, I'll now try to do a merge. So I want to merge from the branch to the trunk, so I'm now within the trunk. I go for team, merge, and I want to merge from the branch, which is fine, and I click OK. Now this time around you'll notice that the AES file has a little red icon associated with it, and that means that we have a conflict. Subversion as a tool will automatically annotate the source file for you and show you what the two alternatives are when it's doing a merge, so it can't work out for itself which one of those two changes, or perhaps both, that you want in your system, and it's up to the user to actually work that out for themselves. And so you can see here the chevrons here, the equal signs, and the chevrons over to the right hand side. The dot working means the local copy, the working copy, and in this case the trunk. So the trunk contains all of the code or the lines between the left pointing chevrons and the equal sign, and that here, as you can see, contains the comment that this comment's been modified in the trunk. Between the equal signs and the right facing chevrons, this is what is being merged in from the branch in this case, and this is a conflicting comment which says this comment is for the branch only. Now I can choose to do whatever I want within this. However, of course, the chevrons here, the equal signs, etc., are not valid C, so I have to make my mind up and then commit to what the change and the correct change is for the particular file, and that's what I'm going to do next. Once again, I'm not going to use the synchronization perspective, as it contains information which is not really relevant to what we're doing here, and I don't want to be bothered by the dialogue anymore, so I'll just say remember my decision. Now I can make the changes to my source files manually should I wish to. However, the IDE has an integrated conflict editor built into it, and that allows me to very nicely decide how I want my resulting source file to look. So I can right click, team, edit conflicts, and now I have a file comparison view opened up, but it's a little bit different to the normal one we're looking at. You'll see that it has these red triangles or red squares on the top, and we have just the one conflict in our system, and it's showing me that the repository, which is coming from the branch in this case because we're merging in from the branch, contains this comment, and my working copy had this value in it, and I need to make a decision on exactly what I want to do. The toolbar up the top allows me to make that choice. So I can copy all the non-conflicting changes from left to right, or I can copy, for example, the current change from left to right. Or, for example, I can do the same thing by clicking in the bar here. If I choose to actually make that change, then it comes in, and I now have effectively a merged file. I can save my changes so that the .c file has the modified versions. What you'll see, however, though, is that although I've effectively resolved the conflict and my source file looks clean, Subversion doesn't know that I've finished with the resolution of my conflict, and so the file is still flagged as conflicted. You'll actually see also within the project view in the Project Explorer that there are two files that have appeared, one which says merge left and one which says merge right, and they are effectively the text versions of the two source files that fed into the merge, and they will remain there until I've told Subversion that I've finished doing my conflict resolution. So that's what I need to do next. So I can select the file, right click, and I can say mark as merged. So the file is now marked as merged, and so I now simply have a merged file which is ready to be committed back into the trunk, which I will do.